Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special stream. Getting ready for the president's address from the Oval Office regarding the tragedy in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm not quite sure what words I can or cannot say that will flip off YouTube, so I might be a little cagey with that. I hope you'll forgive me. So the Oval Office remarks apparently start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. They are apparently going to be pre-recorded. Unfortunately, I was hoping for another foray into the wonderful world of Joe Biden live, but they're pre-recorded, so takes a little bit of the suspense out of it. But all the same, I'm still curious to find out what's to be said. I have a feeling it's going to be less about details of the investigation, perhaps, than it will be pushing forward with comments about unity and we cannot tolerate violence and a whole bunch of other probably just sort of boilerplate good things to be said, but who knows. We'll find out. We will find out tonight. Yes, the Biden to give forceful address to nation tonight. Is forceful, is that violent in and of itself? Does that sort of evoke violence in a way? I don't know. But before I begin or really get into it, who is joining me on this sort of impromptu, relatively impromptu stream tonight? Mike R, good evening. Old Guy Gamer, good evening. Mike Savage, good evening. Mr. Blue, good evening. Keeverdam, good evening to you. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the links to the fundraisers for our friends Moonshock, Natalie, Angela Ariaga, Rhonda, and Ashley. If you guys can take a look at those and donate if you are able. If you're not, that's fine. But if you can, share those around social media. That would be appreciated as well. So thank you, Keeverdam, and thank you guys ahead of time for that. Anthem Ward, good evening. Who else is here? Advocatus Diaboli, good evening. Darren Root, good evening to you. Let's see who else. Scrolling. Keep them doggies scrolling. Funtime Bats, good evening to you. Roasted Opinions, good evening. Did I hear correctly? The House Speaker has publicly denounced Biden as unfit. I don't know. I had not heard that. I can look it up. We'll see. Fostonia, good evening to you. And yes, hello again. Who else is here? I saw some people. Oh, yes, Darren. I apologize. I saw Darren Root earlier, and then I got Derek LaRue. Oh, my gosh. Derek, thank you so much once again for your support and generosity. I very, very much appreciate it. Hope you're having a good evening and hope you enjoy the show. And apologies for stumbling over your name. Full Metal Joker, good evening to you. Matthew James, good evening. Cynic, good evening. Daryl Brewer, good evening. The One Ton Hammer, good evening. Josh Hammond. Hammer and Hammond. You guys just start a podcast or something. Hammer and Hammond. Sounds like a buddy cop show or something, Starsky and Hutch or something. Angelverse, good evening. Unfair Ophelia, good evening. It's senior staff reporter and chief Florida correspondent Colleen Bernier. Hello, Colleen Bernier. Nice to see you again. Let's see. Theater Wench Ginger, good evening to you. Anyone else? Oh, Luke Skywalker too. Good evening to you. I'm getting all poetic over here. Urka Lady Stefano, good evening. Robert Pincus, good evening. Raziel, good evening to you as well. Who else is here? Matt Melton, good evening. Aspie Auntie, good evening. And oh my gosh, Frank Hubbard the Fourth, good evening. Donkey Punch Bandit, good evening. Okie Native, good evening. Unit 731, good evening. And the Messianic Militant, good evening. And to anybody I missed, I hope I didn't, anybody lurking or anybody in the future, good evening. So we're going to go over some updates. Pardon me. Deanna Saunders, good evening to you. We're going to go over some updates of what's going on, what's been found out in the meantime about the shooter, bits and pieces of that kind of thing. Because a lot of stuff has been discovered in the last 12 some odd hours, if you can believe it, about our shooter. Biden to give forceful address to nation tonight, continue campaigning next week. Well, next week is tomorrow, unless he's taking the week off because the entire news cycle will be surrounding the Republican convention, I suppose. President Joe Biden will deliver, quote, a forceful and needed, unquote, address to the nation Sunday evening following the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on Saturday, a campaign official told ABC News. Biden will address the, quote, horrifying attack and urge, quote, every American to come together to not just condemn, but to put to an end, political violence in this country once and for all, the official said. I mean, it's a nice thought. It's a nice thought, but if just outlawing theft made theft go away, then, In light of Saturday's shooting, Biden's campaign said they were, quote, pausing all outbound communications and working to pull down our television ads as quickly as possible, unquote. The campaign official said next week, quote, the DNC and the campaign will continue drawing the contrast between our positive vision for the future and Trump and Republicans' backwards-looking agenda over the course of the week, unquote. Is that the same kind of rhetoric you were using just, 72 hours ago to describe the Trump campaign and Republicans, and Trump in particular? Yes, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how long, not necessarily whether, but how long the temperature will be turned down on the rhetoric against Trump in the coming weeks and months. So on to our shooter. There has been several different developments that have come out in the last few hours. Suspicious devices found as investigators search for motive. In the ongoing investigation into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump Saturday, FBI officials said, quote, suspicious devices, unquote, were found in the suspected shooter Thomas Matthew Crook's car and home. Pittsburgh special agent in charge Kevin Rojek, or Rohek, I suppose, depending on the pronunciation, said there was a suspicious device found in the suspect's car and agents were trying to determine what it is. Show me more. Another was found in his home, Rojek said, and both were described as rudimentary. Okay. Crooks has no known history of mental illness, per the FBI. His family is cooperating with investigators. And there he is. Totally not Ricky Berwick, just so you know, not Ricky Berwick. Let's see. Milwaukee says, Secret Service not expanding perimeter for the RNC. Really? Not even a little bit? Not even just a little bit? During a press briefing Sunday, U.S. Secret Service officials addressed the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump and the upcoming Republican National Convention following Saturday's shooting. Quote, this is a national security event, and that designation is the highest level that the federal government can determine, unquote, RNC coordinator Audrey Gibson said. Quote, we are confident in the security plans in place for this event, and we're ready to go. It's been an 18-month process, unquote, Gibson continued, adding, quote, we've worked together to develop operational security plans for any and all access of security, unquote. Officials explained that the current Secret Service inner perimeter plan is the, quote, largest inner perimeter that has been part of the convention, unquote, and that plans did not change following Saturday's shooting. Officials said there are no known articulated threats against the RNC. Well, I mean, there were no known articulated threats at the time against Trump. Otherwise, you guys would have, maybe expanded your perimeter a bit to 400 feet away from the stage. I'm just saying, 400 feet with a elevated position within line of sight of the stage, not covered. I don't know who was in charge of coordinating security that day. Ultimately, the buck stops with the director of Secret Service, but on the ground, who was responsible for it, whoever that person is, they may have served their country in so many other ways, but they need to lose their job. And I tell you what, I said this last night. If Trump is reelected, you better believe your sweet bippy that the Secret Service is going to be torn down and rebuilt again. If the oversight that's going to occur in the next few weeks doesn't already do it. Apparently, there's going to, on the 22nd, I think it is, the director of the Secret Service is going to have to appear before the Senate committee. So we'll see how that goes. Advocates Diablo Scribelite, more like they are confident next time they will get him. I don't know. Aspiani, shouldn't there be more security? You would think, but who knows? Maybe the security for the convention was Fort Knox style, and they just decided to go lax on Trump on the road. Yeah. Anyway, Daryl Brewer. So, with everyone who has shown that they are upset that this person missed, does this mean some of them are going to try? To see, I was saying this earlier, I think last night or maybe partially this morning. Uh, Seeing people show their true colors, so to speak, and an event like this is illuminating and a bit depressing. It reminded me a lot of during the COVID era, where you'd see people on both sides of the vaccination issue. If someone died, one side or the other, depending on the political persuasion of the individual or assumed thereof, would be salivating over the notion that that person died because they made the wrong choice. And there was plenty of articles talking about, shaming people and, glorifying the deaths of people who didn't heal too in one side or the other. And it was about as ghoulish and as losing faith in humanity kind of territory as you could imagine. And I'm sure many of you were there for it. This is similar. This is similar. An innocent man lost his life. Fire captain or chief of fire chief. I think he was a former fire chief and husband and father. He moved to cover his family to protect them from the shots, and he took one himself. And you see people sort of like, "Aw, shucks," over the fact that Trump, uh, quite literally dodged a bullet. There's a diagram going around on Twitter that shows the angle of his head in the mere instant before the shots were fired and the angle of his head when the shots were fired, and that if he hadn't moved his head at that moment, more likely than not, he would have caught the bullet in the back of his head. So, but yeah, it's disgusting. If this had happened to Biden, I wouldn't be jumping up and down and celebrating or something. This isn't supposed to be the world that we live in America, right? I mean, it's almost like I think of like Mexico. I think Ranting Monkey even brought this up the other day. You hear about the political assassinations of politicians in like Mexico and things that those happen with uh, some frequency to the point where it's not all that surprising when it happens anymore. You hear about it, it's on the news for a couple days, and people move on. Supposedly, we're supposed to be better than that, or at least more secure than that. But yeah, anybody celebrating this is, I mean, I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but I'll say it. Anybody celebrating this is not American, as far as I'm concerned. That's not the American way. I know, might be a little off there. Frank Hubbard IV. Destiny has proven himself more left and less intelligent than I thought he was. I never thought he was intelligent. Always knew he was far left. I've never really paid attention to Destiny at all. The most that I ever hear about him usually is some, YouTube or internet drama video documentary talking about his relationship with his ex-wife or something, or some debate or fight that he had with some other personality. But certainly his comments over the last 24 hours or so, regardless of his political persuasion in any other persuasion in any other day, on any other day or any other situation, yeah, just sort of trivializing an innocent person's death at a political rally because he was there for the wrong person. Yeah, not somebody I'm going to pay a whole lot of attention to or wish well in the long term. Suspected shooter worked as a dietary aide at a nursing and rehab center. The man suspected of shooting Donald Trump was employed as a dietary aide at the Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, according to Administrator Marcy Grimm. Thomas Matthew Crooks, quote, performed his job without concern, unquote, and passed a background check, according to Grimm. Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center said it is cooperating with law enforcement in their investigation. So yeah, trickling in bits and pieces of this guy's life and his mentality or condition prior to this. I have seen some videos on Twitter, I can't show them here, that purport to show him at various events screaming at people or something. But at least the video that I saw was way too fuzzy to be able to say for sure whether it was him. And I can't say unless someone's verified it. So Snubber, thank you so much. Thoughts on Destiny? His whole justification defense seems to center around Trump's a traitor and an insurrectionist. As far as I recall, a small riot he didn't control isn't an insurrection. Yeah, I mean, this is January 6th is a ruckus event as compared to this. Um, the only person that died at January 6th was one of the protesters being shot through a door. And it's arguable whether or not there was a clear and present danger to anybody from her side of things on the other side of a door. But I forget who said it, but somebody said that Destiny is the voice of the extremists without a filter. And yeah, we can't be a country. We can't be a country that solves its problems like this, that solves its disputes like this. If you have a better idea, you put that better idea before the electorate, before the public, and let the chips fall where they may. You know, this kind of thing. Obviously, this isn't the first time that someone has planned or attempted an act on a presidential candidate, let's say, or a sitting president, either way. We'll never know the number of plots, plans, and disrupted attempts that have been made for any particular president, Trump included. But this is the second time that Trump has had someone attempt something, one more successfully than the other, I suppose, at a rally in his tenure as a politician. Yeah, the thing is, I mean, as much as we could decry this, the fact remains is that 99% of the population either does not agree with this or certainly would never do something like this for however much they disliked a candidate. It's that 1% unhinged, mentally unstable, mixed bag of nuts out there that just need an excuse and an opportunity. And my anger in this situation is, of course, there's a portion reserved specifically for the shooter who is now gone. Thankfully that he can't hurt anybody else. But this never had to happen. There's no reason this had to happen. I am not a security expert. I am not a Secret Service historian, but I'll tell you what, I've seen enough movies, TV, and documentaries to know that if you're holding a political rally and you're in charge of security, one of the things you have to do is stand where the VIP is going to be, look around for anything that could be a vulnerable position, as in someone using an elevated area to take a shot, and secure that area. Why that was not done in this, I do not understand. And I just want to stay up front. Obviously, there is a lot of speculation about some kind of conspiracy that this was planned for and so on and so forth. I am less likely to believe in a grand conspiracy to make this happen with this 20-year-old nutball than I am to believe in just baffling incompetence on the part of the Secret Service. I don't want to give credit to some unknown cabal that decided to put their professional lives and perhaps freedom on the line in order to arrange for this kid to have this opportunity. Than I am to say somebody at the Secret Service dropped the ball straight through the floor and down into the pits of hell, which needs to be punished as well. But it is depressingly remarkable how many opportunities there were to stop this guy before anything happened, both in the preparation for the event and even as he was making his way to his position. More than a few people saw him climbing up the wall. More than a few people were screaming at authorities that there's a guy up there. And there's even stories now that cops made contact with him, but then ran away. Now, I don't have all the details in that part yet. I've only seen a couple of things, and it's all been sort of, sideways reporting. So I don't know about that, but someone at the Secret Service is going to have to answer for this. And you heard of that press conference last night, if you watched it, with the local police authorities and the FBI. The Secret Service did not show up to that press conference. Pointedly did not show up to that press conference. And many a question and concern from the press was directed back to the Secret Service. They weren't being thrown under the bus. It was just obvious whose responsibility it was. Officer Buck, Tud Russell. Hey, Scribe and Chat. My favorite stupid article was the Forbes article saying that Trump only got shot to get the black vote, which they took down very soon after. Yes, that was written by Sean Harper. Sean Harper, who has appeared on my channel in the sense of a Forbes report that I did several months back. Yeah, Sean Harper, a DEI expert. He wrote an article, speculating whether or not Trump surviving a bullet would increase his favoritism amongst the black vote. Yeah, that was something else. Yeah, Sean Harper. Yeah, this was a guy who was when I looked at an interview with him, he was bemoaning the fact that all of the billions promised during the era of George Floyd from corporations, CEOs, other type of entities, to DEI programs elsewise just kind of dried up or weren't fulfilled. He was very upset that a bunch of free money was not coming his way in his industry. Poor Sean Harper. I hope he does well in his next article. I can't wait to see his next article. Thank you, Officer Buck. Snubber, thank you again. On that point, Wikipedia does have pages for the attempts. I was looking at Obama's yesterday. Oh man. Yeah, like I say, they're rarely ever advertised because they don't want to encourage people, but there are untold numbers of attempts or half-made attempts or people getting close or communicating with, friends who turn them in and so on. So, but this one, like I say, we're not talking about some kind of James Bond here, right? We're not talking about some, former military hardened individual. We're talking about a goofy looking mullet wearing 20-year-old kid in jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers. This was easily preventable, and it is an absolute disgrace that it wasn't. Anyway, I'll probably say that more than a few times. Suspect had no known mental illness history. His family is cooperating. Authorities have not identified an ideology associated with the suspected shooter, Thomas Crooks. FBI Pittsburgh Special Agent in Charge Kevin Rojek told reporters on a call on Sunday. Quote, "We're looking into his background, his day-to-day activities, any writings and social media posts that might help us identify what led up to the shooting, and we have not seen anything threatening," unquote, Rojek said. Crooks had no known mental illness history. Crooks' family is cooperating with federal authorities, officials said. Officials told reporters they don't have any insights on what the suspect's actions were prior to opening fire at the shooting site, but said it's something they are investigating. Well, there is a photo of him before he, was hit by fire. And there's grass in the background. And so I don't know where that photo comes from. I don't know if it's cropped from a larger image or something, but something or someone had observed him prior to the event. And as far as I can tell, prior to being on the roof, because like I say, just in the background of the picture, there's grass. So it seems like he was still on the ground at the time. So I don't know exactly how that was done. I'd be curious to know what happened. Stevie J, the parents lost their son and now everyone hates them. That sucks. Yeah. Parents, short of us finding out that he was encouraged to do this in some way, shape, or form, or they had any foreknowledge of it, the parents are as tragic of victims of this as anybody else. And guilt by association. I mean, I knowing people as I do, people are still going to try to hold these guys responsible and try to shame them and demonize them or whatever else. And, depending on the home life, depending on what was going on, maybe there's some kind of karmic culpability outside of criminal culpability. I don't know. But more likely than not, this kid acted on his own without his parents' either knowledge or consent. And they just lost their kid. And it'll never go away, right? You can't, losing a child is bad enough. Worst thing in the world for a parent. But yeah, to know that your kid killed somebody, killed an innocent person, and then also tried to take out a presidential candidate, just, yeah. Two injured victims upgraded to stable condition. Well, that's good. The two people injured in Saturday's shooting have been upgraded from critical condition to stable condition, according to the Pennsylvania State Police. Police identified 57-year-old David Dutch of New Kensington, Pennsylvania, and 74-year-old James Copenhaver of Moon Township, Pennsylvania, as the injured shooting victims. Killed in the shooting was Corey Comparatori. I really want to know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I feel like it's like an Italian name or something, but I don't know. Is it Comparator or Comparatore? I feel like it's Comparatore. I'm happy to be corrected, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. Corey Comparatori, 50, of Sarver, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has ordered flags to be flown at half staff in honor of Comparatori, a firefighter who leaves behind a wife and two daughters. Let's see. And earlier today, no motive known, Biden says. Yes, Biden made a very, very brief statement earlier today. I streamed it on Discord at the time. It was all of like 4 minutes or something. It wasn't anything major. I don't know how long his Oval Office remarks are going to go tonight, but we'll find out together shortly in the next 20 some odd minutes. If it is pre-recorded, and my understanding that it is, maybe for once, a Biden presentation will actually start on time, because there won't be any excuses not to. And I'll also be curious to know how many takes did it take? And will there be any edits? Will we see any edits in this pre-recorded thing to cut out the worst of his stumbumbling over words? No motive known, Biden says. President Joe Biden said he had a, quote, short but good conversation with former President Donald Trump on Saturday night in the wake of the shooting. Quote, I am sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, Biden said in an address to the nation on Sunday. You know, aside from the fact that him being elected would mean an end to democracy, you know, and he's a threat to the nation and all that fun stuff. No motive is known, Biden said, and he urged the public to not make assumptions. Well, it's a nice sentiment, but we are who we are. Biden stressed that he has called on the FBI to conduct a thorough and swift investigation, and he said, quote, investigators will have every resource they need to get this done. Biden said he's directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which begins on Monday in Milwaukee. Hey, I got a question for you. Would you really want the current head of the Secret Service to oversee security after this? This is one of those situations. It kind of reminds me of like Condoleezza Rice after 9/11, you know, your national security advisor. One of those situations where it would seem almost compulsory for that person to resign in the face of such an utter and absolute failure in their duties. So yeah, I'm going to be very, very curious to see if that lady holds on to her job, and what the Congressional Oversight Committee is going to do with her when she testifies, I think, on the 22nd. So we'll see. Quote, we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people, Biden said. Well, you bet your bippy you will. That better not be some kind of secret document or something. That would be bad. You want to talk about trying to stomp on assumptions and speculation of people. Thank you again, Snubbirth. With that hair and looks, he did it for a girl whose armpit hair is longer than my red hair. Oh, or head hair. I mean, I don't know. I did invite Ranting Monkey on. He might be sleeping or something. If he does come on, I'll have him explain it more clearly. But he had a really interesting theory, because one of the pieces of information that came out last night, while people were still trying to figure out who this guy was and what he was about, they found that he was registered as a Republican, and this caused all sorts of speculation as to, oh well, it was some extreme right guy, and maybe he was mad at Trump over his position on abortion or something, or his more diplomatic position on abortion. And Ranting Monkey had an interesting theory that might be true, is that perhaps, and again, I don't know this, I just think it's a good theory, that perhaps this guy registered as a Republican specifically to participate in a primary so that he could vote against Trump and try to turn the tide. So there's all sorts of possibilities here until we get some confirmation. Let's see. Trump will leave Milwaukee. Yeah, no motive. We know that. Let's see. What's this? Senior staff reporter and chief Florida correspondent Colleen Bernier. Now I'm starting to stumble over that. I did it so well the other night. It came out like old times, but now it's just like, Anyway, same article. Jason Kohler attended Bethel Park High School with crooks and said he remembers the 20-year-old sat alone at lunch and was, quote, bullied every day. Yeah, I got the feeling that this kid did not have it easy in high school or growing up. I try not to judge people immediately on their appearance, but some things are kind of hard to go like, well, if I remember how kids were when I was a kid and I saw a kid that looked like that, or if perhaps I share some similar elements with that kid insofar as being kind of awkward looking with glasses, I can only imagine that he probably did not have a very great time in school and growing up. I can believe it to be so. But senior staff reporter and chief Florida correspondent Colleen Bernier has a part 2 upcoming. I will share that when the time comes. But yeah, Monkey's theory, granted that this was not some sort of no true Scotsman kind of deal where Trump wasn't right enough for this individual or something. Monkey's theory on the Republican registration would be an interesting alternative to explaining what's going on. Let's see. They have 4 new updates. Let's see if it's anything worthwhile. Nope. I guess it's going to jump all the way down to the bottom again. Okay. FBI in possession of 3 firearms. Federal authorities are investigating after. Yes, we know. What about the? Okay. Do we have any updates? Okay, here we go. FBI in possession of 3 firearms from campaign event shooting sources. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News that the FBI is currently in possession of 3 firearms from Saturday's shooting and defense of the former president. From Saturday's shooting and defense of the former president. Okay. The firearms include one belonging to the shooter, okay, I see. One belonging to the shooter, one belonging to the Secret Service agent who shot and killed the shooter, and the other belonging to a Butler County Sheriff's deputy who was involved in the shooting. Okay. I'm assuming the shooting of the assassin and not the shooting of the shooting. I hope so. Colleen Bernier, Scribelites from USA Today article I'm reading. Several mentions about loner high school stuff for him. Yeah, that's what I also saw elsewhere, is that he was, he had a very flat affect around people, didn't really smile, just has sort of like a blank face most of the time. He was awkward. He was picked on. Yeah, just a loner kid who probably was stewing over something. Frank Hubbard, he had donated to Act Blue, which had the whole campaign about voting against Trump, and Trump backed people in primaries. Yeah, those are the 2 conflicting things that have people not sure exactly which way the wind was blowing as far as his politics, because he was registered as a Republican, donated to a liberal cause. So which way was he going? And again, I have seen, and I've had a couple people send me videos that purportedly are of the assassin yelling and screaming at people at like campus events or some kind of like minor, political committee kind of deal. I don't know if that's him. The video quality is bad enough that I can't say. But everybody's trying to find a way to frame this to satisfy their own political ends. Especially last night and early into the event yesterday, when we didn't know anything about this guy. And I was just, at this point, I should not be surprised, but I'm still struck by the absolute callousness and inhumanity of people celebrating the possibility that Trump was almost taken out by one of his own. Trump made this. I love the media right now saying that this is all Trump's fault. If only Trump hadn't been promoting this kind of rhetoric and these kind of ideas for so long, then this wouldn't have happened. It's really all his fault and his followers' fault. It's not the media's fault. No. It's not the media positioning themselves and rebroadcasting rhetoric that would say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, that our country is at risk if Donald Trump becomes president. No. It's not any of us. No. It's over here, guys. It's really, Trump did it to himself, guys. This is a self-inflicted wound. I mean, it's a Rube Goldberg device kind of thing to get there, but no, it's a self-inflicted wound, everybody. That's what it is. Don't look at the media any closer than we already have. Let's see. Assassination attempt on Trump expected to be exploited by misinformation. Is misinformation like the winner of a pageant show? You know, you have like Miss Carolina or Miss Virginia or something. We should have a misinformation beauty pageant. You know, an unofficial one. We should take the media figures for any particular year. Doesn't matter which outlet they work for or which side of the political spectrum they may lean or something, but just have a misinformation pageant show and have a bracket for different figures. I mean, I'm going to say just actual female figures. I know we could have a I want to say Mr. Universe or Mr. Information. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. We should do that. If somebody isn't already doing that, they should do that. You know, get Joy Reid up there, you know, and sure, you can put Megyn Kelly up there. I'm sure she hasn't had a perfect record all the time, you know, but you make sure it's all very diverse. Make sure it's a very diverse, broad spectrum on the political side competition. Misinformation, the annual misinformation contest. Snow Pilot, Wolf Blitzers, both sides need to cool it whining last night almost made me vomit. Oh, boy, they're doing everything they can to try to dodge any culpability in this. That they could have had any role in galvanizing these thoughts and drilling them into, you know, people who are, like I say, a mixed bag of nuts. Okay, assassination attempt on Trump expected to be exploited by misinformation, says the NYPD. Sure, why not? The assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, quote, will likely be amplified in extremist messaging and heavily exploited by malicious actors, unquote, according to an NYPD intelligence product obtained by ABC News. Oh. Is there anything from the Democratic Party or the mainstream media that as well could have amplified extremists and malicious actors? You think? The misinformation surrounding the attack is, quote, aimed at fomenting division, unquote, according to the Sunday Bulletin. Wait, really? And on which side of the aisle? I mean, I guess they're being Switzerland on this. They haven't named a specific political party or political bent yet. Quote, in the immediate hours after the shooting took place, multiple users on numerous online messaging platforms responded to the incident with support for the attack. Okay, good. Or at least you're calling that out. Overt calls for civil war, hostile rhetoric against former President Donald Trump, threats against elected officials, and generalized calls for retaliatory violence, unquote, according to the bulletin. Sources have said there has been an uptick in threats to elected officials around the country as a result of the attack. Well, anybody who's threatening elected officials in response to this is on par with the assassin. Okay, that's not how it works. You don't respond to something this un-American with further un-American acts or threats. Okay, so to paraphrase a well-known meme amongst Trump, there are terrible people on both sides here. Yeah. Anybody, you know, and this is probably one of the sentiments that I'll agree with Biden on tonight. Granted that his oh, here we go. Well, not yet, but I mean, it's the video link is up. I'm going to switch over to that. Pardon me 1 second here. And this. Okay, is that looking all right? Yeah, I guess it looks all right. Bring it down a little bit. I don't know if I can make it any larger. Yeah, okay, just a smidge. All right. So there we go. We're going to be waiting. It's supposed to start in about 6 minutes. Let me make sure the volume is on. Yes, and we are live. Yes, okay. So there we go. As soon as it begins, it will begin. So this is pre-recorded, as far as I'm told. So it should be, unless they decide to simulate Biden's sort of energy level, this should be starting on time. So in the lead up to that, I'll check out what you guys have to say in the chat. Let's see. Montenegro Pictures What kind of films do you make, Montenegro Pictures? He doesn't lack meat from his ear. Why did the agents save his hat? Why was it so important that they pick it up with the evacuation, blocking one with their own? I have many criticisms of the Secret Service and their behavior, both in the pre-planning for the event, obviously, but also when the attack occurred. They kept Trump on the stage far too long. They held him up and allowed him. At that point, Trump's wants, needs, and desires are irrelevant. They should have bodily picked him up and hauled him off of the stage immediately. They didn't. They allowed him to posture and everything else. And while I realize that that photograph of him is going to go down in history as one of the probably most significant, off-the-cuff, unplanned photographs of all time, I've already seen someone getting a tattoo of it. That's beside the point. He should have been bodily hauled out of there. And then when he was taken to the SUV, it did not speed away. It was just kind of slowly trundling forward, and they really awkwardly bundled him into the car. The whole thing was the word sloppy is the best I can come up with, but is not enough to describe how the entire procedure looked. That there wasn't a clear exit path for the Secret Service in case of an emergency, that they allowed him to stay on the stage and held him up in a position that would and could make him vulnerable again to further attack if there was more than one shooter. The whole thing was just an absolute botch. And I don't want to completely decry the Secret Service agents themselves. They did surround him. They did try to shield him from possible additional attacks. But I don't know if it's a matter of training. I don't know if it's a matter of coordination on that day or who was in charge of what, giving orders or instructions. But the Secret Service agents and then the armed, the heavily armed, like soldier guys trotted out afterwards, and they looked like they were just on coffee break or something. It's such a bizarre, if you just watch the behavior of the security personnel after the shooting and as he's being taken to the car and afterwards, it all looks, as I said last night, it all looks completely Keystone Cops in places. And there's got to be a top-down review and critique of the Secret Service and their procedures at this point. The director of the Secret Service, and we learned this yesterday because I'd never heard of it before because the Secret Service isn't something I pay a whole lot of attention to. Prior to becoming head of the Secret Service, she was head of security for PepsiCo. So she was guarding soda pop before she became the person in charge of guarding the president. I mean, and as well as being in charge of effectively at the top guarding Trump, she's at the top effectively guarding Biden too. So this goes beyond just party lines here, if we're talking about questions of competence. But all right, 2-minute warning thereabouts. Granted, they're going to have it on time. Daniel Pullman, what was the Clint Eastwood movie about presidential assassination? Well, that was In the Line of Fire. And that was John Malkovich, Clint Eastwood, 1993 that came out. Excellent movie. Love that movie. It was my first real exposure to John Malkovich as an actor. And it's excellent. Rene Russo was in it too, and a whole bunch of other people. Yeah, great flick. Great flick. If you have the opportunity, if you haven't seen it already, great flick. Let's see. Random American, as a former PepsiCo employee, there was only ever a badge lock at the warehouse. So much for her security acumen. Yeah, well, I don't know. I would have thought, and maybe this is just my, sort of civilian layman's thinking. I would have thought that the head of the Secret Service would need to have, at the very least, some reputable law enforcement experience prior to taking that job. Some. It doesn't have to be, the most pristine or premier, but something, and something of note before you become the head of the agency charged with protecting the president of the United States. I'm just saying. And there's a video out there of her promoting DEI in the Secret Service and government service, and I was like, I don't know. And speaking of which, speak of the devil, Colleen Bernier, with all the videos of her wanting to hire at least 30% diversity workforce, might she be the topic of your next DEI talk? It's possible. It's possible. Also, a note before this begins, hopefully I get it in time. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to be out of town for the next 5 days starting tomorrow. I'll be back Sunday. I guess that's a little bit more than 5 days, but either way, so there won't be a TED Excellence this week. There won't be a Sunday stream this week. And I probably won't have access to Twitter and the like or Discord. I'm going to be sort of out of pocket. I'm taking an actual vacation. I have not taken an actual vacation where I don't have to worry about work or anything else for a decade or thereabouts. So I am taking the first week of my 2-week vacation and just sort of letting loose and going off and trying to do something different for a bit. But I will be back on the 21st, the evening of the 21st, thereabouts. Depending on my energy level, I might do an ambush stream just for the hell of it. We'll see. And then for that rest of that week thereafter, I'll be back at home and doing stuff and having fun and do that kind of thing. And of course, on Friday, July 26th, is it starting? Is it starting? I saw a buffer there for a second. Friday, July 26th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern will be the next episode of Living on Borrowed Crime, where I'll have a panel discussion about the critiques and objections to the true crime genre. And so far, scheduled to appear Matt Orchard, Dave's Lemonade, Misery Machine, Mr. Black Pasta, and True Red Crime. It's buffering. Is it going to start? Okay. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Hate to be that way, but soda security and people security are vastly different. What? Matt Barnes, come on. Come on. Pepsi's the taste of a new generation. She was in charge of protecting the taste of a whole generation, Matt Barnes. That's at least as high up there as the president. Is it buffering because something's wrong? Is it going to start soon? I don't know. We're not.
Fellow Americans.
Oh.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature
seriously?
in our politics.
Okay.
And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit to try. Pardon me a second.
All of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna back it up a little bit, and you might have to try to avoid the buffering. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. His family. Misery Machine. There you go, guys. Follow Misery Machine. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot. An American citizen killed while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th,
or
brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information.
What about Steve Scalise?
On election officials.
How about Steve Scalise?
The kidnapping plot against the sitting governor.
Oh, yeah,
the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There's no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated.
No.
It's time to cool it down.
Okay.
We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a
Jeez.
different view as to the direction our country should take.
Uh-huh.
Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree.
Again? Come on, guys.
We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box.
That's how we battle box?
The battle box, not with bullets.
Battle box.
The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being.
Oh my gosh.
So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special?
Make America great again?
Everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos where we only listen to those with whom we agree.
Sorry, guys, I can't do anything about it. It's going to happen, apparently. Anytime now, guys. It's probably being over.
Misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created a democracy that gave reason,
a representative republic,
brute force. That's the American we must be. American democracy, where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities.
Mm-hmm.
We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. Mm-hmm. There's nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together.
Moon base.
God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
That's it. I guess that's it. Okay. Well, all right. Well, there you go, everybody. There's the statement. I honestly, you know what I was hoping for? I was honestly hoping for Biden to make some concession to his own rhetoric on social media and elsewise. That he would at least admit that he has, in many ways, contributed to the problem by talking about the end of democracy and Trump is a threat and he must be stopped and all this other stuff. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. Just like with Trump using the word bloodbath in a speech or saying fight and all this other stuff, things taken out of context by anybody can be taken out of context. But I would have liked at least for him to concede to the same standard that he and his party have applied to Trump in past instances of quote unquote questionable words being used in public, political debates and rallies and things, that he would at least, say, I found myself contributing to this, or I need to bring it down a bit and focus on the issues and not on the person. Argue the point and not the person. That's my general rule when it comes to either subjects I look at on my channel or elsewise in life. Argue the point and not the person, because the person, short of it being some kind of question about credibility or someone's legitimacy themselves, when it comes to a political debate or otherwise, argue the point, not the person. You'll be the better person for having done so. Some super chats here. Matt Barnes said, "We're Romans and countrymen." Well, we're friends, Romans, countrymen. Lend me your ears. Sure. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Cryptic, thank you so much. Let's go, Brandon. What a turd. Like I say, I was hoping for something a little bit more conciliatory from Joe on this one. Snubber, thank you so much. Clever girl, pad to make it look like it's heavy on one partisan. Yeah. Let's not forget January 6th, or the attack on Pelosi's husband or anything else. Yeah. Let's not talk about Steve Scalise. Let's not talk about, oh my God, I suddenly forgot his name. Jeez. The son of the guy who got attacked in his yard. And I suddenly forget his name, and somebody in the chat's going to remind me, and I'm going to be like, I'm having a Biden moment. A Biden moment. You know who I'm talking about. Let's see. Also, Matt Barnes again. After yesterday, I never want to hear about an event again, no matter how I word it. YouTube says I can't. Yeah, I know. I'm getting sick of that being pulled out as though that means a whole heck of a lot, especially in the face of this. Rand Paul. Yeah, Snowpile. Thank you, Rand Paul. I was thinking Steve Scalise and Rand Paul. Yeah, people being attacked for their political beliefs, and he just focused on those that were bad guy right wing or something. Like, that's it. Now, it doesn't ever happen from the left. No, it never happens from the left. There's no evidence of that ever happening. Not at all. Not at all. There's never been a riot or anything from the left side of the aisle, so to speak. Cryptic, he demonized the right as soon as he started. That's true. And Johnny Hellcat, thank you so much. The guy. Sorry, I know. I only have so much bandwidth some days. But all right, well, there you go. There's Trump. There, I just pulled another Biden. There's Biden's statement. It's all very boilerplate unity and stuff. But I was struck by the lack of concession on his part for contributions, either by himself or any sort of general scolding of political operatives on both sides, because this isn't some kind of like isolated right-wing thing. And I mean, we've seen the memes on Twitter and elsewise in the last couple of days, and especially in the last 24 hours, of just how often media figures, political figures will spew out this stuff that, I mean, it's taken out of context, but the purpose seems pretty clear. That Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy. Donald Trump is a threat to America. Like he's public enemy number one or something. They're not attacking the point. They're not saying his policy will damage this or his thing will do that. No, they're saying he himself is an existential threat to the safety and security of America. We had 4 years of him previously, and, I think we're still here. 4 more years. I tell you what, if 4 more years of Trump is what destroys America, America wasn't much to begin with. And I don't believe that. I don't have any evidence for that. Now, thank you, Faustonia. No comment except to say have a great vacation. Thank you so much, Faustonia. Appreciate it. I hope I do. I've got no itinerary save for where I need to be and when I need to be back. It's just basically like an open field, like an open world game where I don't have a schedule. There's plenty of options of things to do, but there's no imperative. Just a time where I just get to do whatever, whenever, and enjoy myself and not have to worry about being somewhere where I have to be except for leaving and returning. And that's it. So just an open space, which I don't think I've had in 10 years. So it's going to be something else. I'll give another minute or two here for you guys. If you have anything you want to add, And then we will wrap it up for this time. And this will probably be my, unless I, for some reason, decide to stream tomorrow morning or something, this will be my last stream for the next several days. Let's see. You're ridiculous. He didn't mean a word of it, not even his teleprompter did. Honestly, I was struck by the staging of this, that he was looking off camera the entire time. I'm just baffled that they didn't have it set up like most news reporters do, where he's looking at the camera and the teleprompter is underneath the camera and he can read it as he's looking at the audience. Instead, he's looking off into the distance. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. No sense to me whatsoever. They have those cameras with the built-in teleprompters to read off of to make sure that he's engaging with the audience. In this one, he's just off in La La Land somewhere. I was going to say something about at the time, but I didn't want to interrupt his speech, such as it was, and that was just weird. Let's see. Anybody else? I clicked on something, but then the chat moved. So hi, Fostonia. Lynn Hubbard. Neither side is going to stop. The most extreme sides don't have any reason to stop because they don't care about the consequences. The cowards on both sides that decide to revel in this or celebrate or start spreading even more fear amongst their political rivals or anything else, those guys, they're not going to stop either, except that in most cases there's an electronic record if they go too far beyond rhetoric and start making actual threats. So that's, fortunately and hopefully, we have things set up for that. But yeah, all the morons that are like, make America aim again, that kind of thing that I heard yesterday, it just scumballs. I'll keep it relatively clean for the family channel here. Absolute scumballs. And but here's the thing. I am more than happy for them to express themselves exactly as they want to express themselves, because especially with the examples I saw yesterday, nearly all of them immediately lost their jobs. Their employers were like, yeah, we don't want to be associated with a glorifier of political violence or someone talking about regrets when it comes to the lack of death of a political figure, and also the minimization and waving off the actual death of an innocent civilian. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to call it here. Thank you for joining me. I thought the remarks would go on a little bit longer than that, but Biden's stamina is only, basically an egg timer. And after that, he has to get off to his next nap. If you have anything else you'd like to add, put in the comments below. If you're new here, I see 105 people. I saw 110 people were here at one point, maybe up to 124 or more. If you're new here, by all means, if you like this kind of thing, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, did you know I have a Discord server? Well, I'm telling you now, I have a Discord server. Would you like to join the Discord server? Well, you can only join the Discord server when you're watching one of my streams, because I only give out the links during my streams. And so if you look to the chat right now, I want the Discord link, not the link to the White House broadcast. I copied the link and there we go. There's a link to the Discord there. You have to click on that. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me you are not a bot. Actually watch the stream and have earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is Oval. Just say hello, Oval, and I'll know that you watched the show. Beyond that, I've got a channel full of videos from the past covering political things, immigration, DEI, crazy stuff left, right, and center. Mostly left, but sometimes center, sometimes right. Take a look at that if you'd like. And yes, I will be back next Sunday evening. I will at least make myself known on Discord at the time. Don't know if I'll stream by then. I might need to recuperate from the travel. But otherwise, I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend and a really good week ahead of you. I hope we all have some peace this week after an obviously tumultuous last 24 hours and beyond that with all the celebrity deaths and things. R.I.P. to Richard Simmons, R.I.P. to Shannon Doherty and Dr. Ruth. Yeah, it's been a pretty rough couple of days for everybody, and I hope we have a time of calm upcoming, and for you and your families as well. But other than that, everybody, thank you for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the GoFundMes and fundraisers pinned to the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Everyone, have a great rest of your night. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Excuse me. I'm doing a Biden, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.